Okay, so I have been asked to make an Asperger's blog, or vlog. So I'm gonna try and do some like frequently asked questions or something. And is Asperger's the same as autism? Asperger's is on the autism spectrum, but the spectrum is quite wide, and although we share some traits, it's not the same thing as such. We still have like the communication problems, social understanding, that sort of thing, but people with Asperger's usually have a higher IQ and are more able to function independently. Generally come across sometimes as eccentric, but and we might like to do things in a certain routine, but like some children with more higher on the scale, as in more autism, would have like learning problems, some like more language problems, and memory, things like that. Whereas people with Asperger's are often very academic, and they learn a lot about certain topics and will excel in school. Yeah, so that's that question. At what age do you get Asperger's? You pretty much born with it. It's not something you would catch. It's a developmental, it's a brain function thing. It's the way your brain functions. I don't like it being called a disorder. I do not feel like it's a disorder, but of course for some people who have a lot more problems, I can understand why they might feel like it's a disorder. Or we're basically wired up in the brain slightly differently, and I don't think it's necessarily a disorder, but technically it is. And you don't catch it, you're born with it, and it's usually recognised after about a year or two, but everyone's different, and personally I didn't realise until I was an adult, because I knew nothing about it. And is it hereditary, you see? Is it hereditary? I think there is evidence to say it could be, and I think in my family certainly. So no wonder it wasn't picked up on. I think it definitely runs down, at least my mother's side. Definitely my mother's side. Now, a lot of people say it's more common in boys than in girls, and so you're much more likely to have a boy with it. Well, this is judged by, correct me if I'm wrong, this is judged by who's diagnosed. I believe more boys are diagnosed, so people think it's more a boy thing. It's not a boy thing, it's just the same amount of women. It's just that we're a lot better at blending in socially, like copying. It's very easy to copy, watch other people, copy other people to fit in. So I think just women are more gentle and adaptable, and men just go more to the anger and can't blend in. They stick out more, and people notice it more in men or boys. I mean, girls can be aggressive too. I have plenty of anger problems, but I have dealt with a lot of that. Anyway, is there medicines that can cure Asperger's syndrome? No. It's not something you cure. There's medicines people take to make them feel better. You know, some people take anti-anxiety stuff, anti-depression stuff, that sort of thing, just to ease the symptoms. But you don't. It's not something you cure, because it's just the way you are. Can you die from having Asperger's syndrome? Well, no, it's not something that you get and it kills you in that sense. Maybe you might get in a dangerous situation because of it. So it's a silly question. But technically, in the sense of, do you get it and that then makes you die? No. No. Okay, so, can people anywhere in the world have Asperger's syndrome? Yes. Will I always have Asperger's syndrome if you've got it now? Then yes. But as you get older, you will learn how to deal with things more. You'll find, because you will have you'll get more confidence, because you'll have dealt with that situation before and have that to go by. You'll have come across different terms, learnt different social conventions. It depends on how badly you're affected, but personally I've learnt a lot. I've come a long way, and I'm going to stop there because I'm waffling. Can it occur with attention deficit? Yes. It often comes with something else. It's attention deficit, depression, anxiety, OCD, schizophrenia. I don't know. They're not the same thing though. They're different things that can go together. Get one diagnosis, you need to check for the other one, and the other ones. Is a person likely to become depressed if they have it? Well, yes. There's evidence to show there is a greater risk of getting depression if you have AS. Because when you get to be a teenager and you start socialising, that's when you really notice the social differences, and how it's difficult. Like, the older you get, the more rules there are, and the more people start playing games. Children can be quite simple. You know, you can go up to a little child and go, "Hi, my name's Hannah, what's your name?" And then, "Do you want to go play?" "Yeah." And the older you get, the less it's like that, the more they say something that means something else. And when you're somebody that takes things quite literally and you're missing some of the meaning because it's subtle variation in the way they've said something, or I'm really not expressing this properly. And so anyway, that's when you get depressed, because you're like, because you want to connect with other people. What should you look for in a school or teacher? You want to have a smallish classroom. You need a positive atmosphere, an ordered atmosphere. I like teachers that would let you answer questions. I used to sit near the front, and if I had a question, I didn't understand something, I would ask a question. I asked more questions than most people because I wanted to understand. And I found after a while I sort of realised people didn't like it when I asked the question. They'd rather just skim over it. But then I made sure when I was learning how to do it, or the basics of it, that I understood, so then I could do the work. And then I used to get really good grades on the mini tests and stuff, and people used to then come to me. I don't know why they would be embarrassed to ask the teacher, and then they would come to me and ask me. But it's funny because I never come across as someone who's very intelligent, and partly because of my communication skills are so dire. And then they'd say, oh, who got this grade and who got the best? Oh, it was Hannah. And then I'll go, huh? I remember when it came to that, and when I was being put in groups and stuff, grade, maths group or something. Although I've forgotten all my maths now, but it's like, oh, Hannah got 98% on this test, and I'd be, oh? Yeah, because I ask a question if I didn't know, and the best teachers will answer that. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, so we're not stupid, but we come across as a little bit behind. Sometimes I'm quite childish. I come across as quite childish. That's what I mean. And I'm quite clumsy. Can't help it. Right. As far as things like sarcasm goes, I can be quite sarcastic. But sometimes people think I'm being sarcastic when I'm not being sarcastic. And sometimes when people are sarcastic, I don't know they're being sarcastic. Because, right, if something's the opposite, then logically I can tell when they're saying it that it's sarcasm. If they're like, I don't know how to do it, but like, if they say the opposite, oh yeah, I can't think of an example, but then I know that that's not true, so they're probably being sarcastic, so it's probably the opposite. But if they just say something that just isn't true, and it's supposed to be sarcasm, I can't always work out the point of what they're saying. Can't explain it. But some people are just impossible to follow the meaning, and I find it hard to bluff my way along so much. I miss the point. And I've got to the point now where I kind of do say sometimes to people, I don't know what you mean. But it's hard to say that, most times you have to sort of try and bluff along. But the older I get, the less I'm scared of looking silly. And I do that, and now, yeah. So, what else?